Hi, my name is Luciano Bove. I am Italian and I am a design manager at Renault Group since 21 years. Before that, I was at Fiat as a designer for about 11 years. And I just complete and I have been working for design schools as chair and teachers for my first 11 years of work. First at the Art Center Europe for about 4 years on weekend basis on Saturdays. Then I taught for a while at the IAAD in Torino, and then I became chair of Transportation Design Department for the first time at the Istituto Europeo di Design, opening the Transportation Design Department, and I was there for about 9 years, just before I left Torino to come here to France. So I was born 58 years ago in Nocera Inferiore, which is a small town in South Italy, in the province of Salerno in Campania, and it's really close to the Amalfitan coast that a lot of people know. My town is very famous because in the farmland area, it's the area for the famous tomato sauce to make those wonderful tomato sauce. But anyway, I am from there, and I've been living there for the first 19 years of my life. Then I left to go attend school in USA, and I spent in the United States about 6 years of my life. First at English Design School, ELS in Oakland, California. Then I went for 2 years at Pasadena City College for a general education that was a diploma, which was necessary to get fully accepted at Art Center College of Design, from which I graduated in 1989 in transportation design. When I was around 10, 12 years old, I started to be really interested in cars. Not in a brand in particular, but in cars. I have to say that my father, he was a lover of Lancia cars, which were very classy at that time, very special. And I was always accompanying him to check those cars in the auto salon, a dealer, Lancia dealer in our town. And from there, I think that the sparkle of car design addiction started. Okay, when I was 18 years old, I used to buy a lot Gente Motori, Quattro Ruote, and those special magazines about cars in Italy. And I have to tell you that in my country, in my town, in South Italy, we did not have auto design or car styling. So I did not know at all that car design was a profession. So looking at those magazines that I would buy every Sunday, I discovered one day a beautiful 6-page full color interview reportage about Art Center, done by the journalist Leo Mannocchia. And there I saw Ron Hill, the school, the students, the clay models, the full scale sketches, drawings, renderings. So when I saw that, I said, I have to study here. Now, let's talk about the school. Now, school is a very sensible argument for me, a topic that is very important for me, because if you get into the right school, you have a better chances to become a car designer. I don't want to say to get a job, but to have all the cards to play to get a job in car design. If you go to the wrong school, sometimes with big games or big past, you will not have those chances. So for me, the right school is the school the way I used to do it when I was Istituto Europeo di Design chairman of Transportation Design Department, which means a mix of the Anglo-Saxon methodology with which I learned at Art Center in America, plus the culture and the classical way of understanding car design that is typical Italian, more than any other country. So when you are able to mix the two, then you have a really strong basis. the same time, a lot of people tell me, yeah, okay, so this means just sketching a little bit and then study history of automobile design. No, it's not that. In the Anglo-Saxon methodology, which is something that a lot of people ignore in Europe, especially in Italy, in Spain, or even in France, the basics of drawings in the step-by-step to become a car designer, to make a good portfolio, the basics of car drawings is the base. You start from there. You don't start from any other thing. So you have to sketch. You have to work hard. And when I mean work hard, it's like have an assignment of 50 very good drawings every week, not every 2 weeks or once a month. Yes, but already Photoshop. Because if you go too fast on Photoshop and you don't learn the basics, when you do Photoshop, you do it very badly. And all portfolios are made of very bad Photoshops already there. When we see bad Photoshop, we already understand from which school they are coming, and we already don't care anymore to move on the portfolio. I don't waste my time. That if you don't have a good sketch, you don't know your sketch. So when you take that side view and you put it on digital model and you start making, in reality, you think that you are modeling and it's easier because you don't know how to sketch. The problem is that when you are there, you are stuck because there's no creativity. You don't know how to make the sections, and then you are doing something that is horrible. And there are too many people on Facebook, Instagram, very good, bro, and it's piece of shit. And they listen to those people because they get compliments. Well, I have to say that yes, it was difficult because you have to understand that we were in another era. It's not like today. Today my kids are 17 years old. I have one in America and the other one is in Ireland. And it's very easy for them to do all that because thanks to social networks, speaking English and stuff, when I was 19 years old, I did not speak English. And I took a plane for the first time to go for 16 hours of trip. So it was complicated. It was complicated because it was the first time I was out of the family. I was split in two parts, my brain. You know, one part I really wanted to do it, and the other part I was very afraid, of course. And besides, I didn't speak the language. Therefore, the first year during which I did English as second language was fundamental to make sure that I could speak, express myself, understand people, you know. Get the driver license in California, drive a car and talk to people. So after that, things became smooth. And I have to say then still today I feel homesick from California. I started as a Fiat designer, and I was hired by Ermanno Cressoni and Chris Bengo. Ciao Chris, if you're looking. And I have to thank them because they really formed me as a designer, not just as a designer, but also as a design manager. Because a few years after that hiring, there was a big change in the organization, design organization in Fiat, and for the first time we had the chief designers, you know, for projects. So one time Chris came and said, you know what, this is your role now, you're gonna be the chief designer of small cars. And so that's how I got the management of the Fiat Nuova 500 at that time, and with the first Sporting that in England was very popular, and that was my first project. But the most important one, which is still today, it's this one, the Fiat 600, which I have to say, there's a lot of my design management. I had a small team, I managed a small team of 2 ex-students of mine from IAD in Torino at that time. And together we made a beautiful project that we followed from the beginning until the day it went into production. So after 9 years in Fiat, I told myself, okay, I am too much in my comfort zone here. I have to change. And then there was a friend, because when you work in car design and you start following projects and you have lots of connections with suppliers, you make new friends, okay? And when those friends have a good regards for you, good, they trust you, then they have news. Hey, it's happening in that company, in the other company. They call you and they tell you, maybe you should, it's the right moment for, and therefore, I wrote a letter to Mr. Patrick Lequemont, who is a fantastic person, and everybody knows him. And this letter was sent to Piero Stroppa, another fantastic person that was head of LCV design studio in Renault. They really desperately needed help, and therefore my candidature was taken into very seriously. And then things went really fast. In a couple of months, we found an agreement for the contract, because there was a little bit of negotiation, of course. And then my life changed again, and once again, for a very positive change. When I was a student at Art Center, I remember that the first period I was a little weak. I was not. I did not have the same confidence I have today about myself. And because I was coming from Italy, I did not have this mentality of sketching, working hard, stay all night, awake, all that stuff. That's typical American. It's not really too much in Italy, especially when you are just in high school. So I arrived with a deficit, I would say, cultural. You see the Americans, that for them it's normal, and they are like trained, they go like trains, and they are very talented, because in their schools they study a lot traditional Italian sketching, the classicals, things that in Italy we don't do that much. So they were better sketchers than me. Even if I used to paint at home, I used to draw, life, nature and stuff like that. So at the beginning, I felt that I was not gonna make it. That was my hardest moment. In reality, because the system is pushing you to work hard, and because I had this strong passion, and I felt also the responsibility of all the money involved from my parents to keep me there, to keep me study, etc. At the end, the whole thing came together, and without even thinking about, I was working almost as hard as they were doing, and I kept the same pace, and of course I improved my skills, and therefore the self-confidence came in. And then the hardest cap, I would say, after the first year was over, was okay, and I felt very, very, very well. That's a hardest moment where I felt I was not gonna make it. The second one, I would say, and I think this is still today for everybody, is that car design, the good schools are private. Therefore, there is a cost, and therefore, because there is a cost, not everybody can figure out a way to let their son or daughter to get that chance. So there are lots of scholarships out there. That's something that I always tell to all the people that contact me. Go on the website, check scholarship, because today there are many more than at my time. So today should be a little bit simpler. It is one, but it's split in two, okay? I talk about skills. Every time that you look one of my videos on YouTube, or that you follow one of my tutorials, or when I had some interviews, you can go and search in the history of my interviews, you will find always that I say the most important thing is the skills, your skills. How far you bring your skills. Where are the limits of your skills? But when I talk about skills, I'm not talking only about the sketching skills. Because the sketching skills, for me, it's the most important to say that you are eligible as a car designer. Because we communicate with our sketches, whether they are freehand or digital. But if you want to do an excellent digital sketch, the first thing is that you really know how to sketch freehand on paper. And this is something that you have to put in your head. If you don't know paper sketching, forget digital, because you reproduce the same mistakes. And with digital, it's going to be more complicated. It is through sketching. The second part of this main, element, okay, the most important one for me, which is skills, is the human factor. Because I have to tell you very clearly, if you're an asshole, you remain an asshole, but it's gonna follow you. So the human factor, and some people say, but that's politics. No. Behavior, it's extremely important into a very competitive environment. So to be polite, to be respectful and stuff. Because in a very competitive environment, whether it's car design, journalism, politics, or other of those fields where egos are very sensible, very sensitive, you have to find the right way, especially if you are young compared to other people that have experience, and then put cars on the road, even if you don't like them. But at that time, those cars were considered, those designs were considered correct. So you have always to put that type of project in the context, in the age context. So if you're younger, you have to understand what does it mean to be skillful, humble, and therefore useful. Okay, now you have to consider my age, okay, because I'm 58, as I said before. So it's normal that my sketching tool, my preferred sketching tool, it's paper. I sketch a lot on paper. I do all my demos on paper, my tutorials. Even at work, if I have to do a quick sketch during a meeting with a pen and a print paper, I can sketch and stuff. But lately, I start using a little bit of my iPad. I took the Procreate, the Procreate software, and I start making. I start trying. So I start doing things just to learn, because I'm learning, and I think that some of the first results are okay. They're all freehand done, but the thing is that I use the same technique on the digital. So because I have a very good confidence, little I did also a Ferrari. Maybe who loves Ferrari might like this one. Okay, so basically the way I used to mix color, markers, pencil, gouache, the tone value and stuff on paper, on Vincent vellum paper at that time, or the way I used chalk and stuff, I reproduce the same thing on Procreate with my tablet. Okay, 3D modeling, this is a good question, because I have a lot of people that contact me and say, I'm doing 3D modeling, I think that I'm very qualified to be a car designer. Wrong. It's not 100% mandatory to say that in your portfolio you will have some images or film of digital models of your project that you have done by yourself, etc. However, if you have a basic skills of using an alias or Blender, that is appreciated. So one thing is appreciation, another thing is mandatory. Okay, you don't have to, but because you are passionate and you put your nose into that type of stuff because you want to have a better feel of the three-dimensional thing in virtual, and maybe one day just mill out a small scale of your model and stuff just to check what the hell you did, then it's good. Because a lot of people I see on social networks go very fast with Blender, and they take the graphics of their side view. Sometimes they're a little bit too complicated, but they reproduce the same thing on Blender. Proportions are wrong. all the radiuses are wrong. All the sections of the shape are wrong. Therefore, they become like a donut that is into an oven for too long and it's starting to get deformed. But because they made a blender model that they can check from every view, they say, hey, I made a model. I'm sorry, you did not make a model. You didn't make it. You didn't even start it. Because to make a model of your sketch, there are steps that you have to follow. You have to follow the side view. You have to understand the difference between the center line and the other Y section that is closer to the wheel, which are different, similar but different, mainly in space. And then you have to understand, you have to have the motion from the top view. Because if you don't have that, you will never master your model. And that's just the beginning, the fundamental. If you don't put that together, you just move shapes, shapes into the space. You push, you pull just to make sure that it looks like your sketch, but you're not doing anything. Yes, when I was hired by Fiat, 1 year later, Chris Bengo invited me to go to check Art Center in Switzerland. At that time, Art Center had the European branch in Vevey, La Tour d'Épée, in Switzerland. And so I went there because it was the end of the year presentation, big show. So for the first time, I went back to Art Center as a graduate, and as a designer. So I was very proud. So we went there, and I met some of the teachers. Some of the teachers were my ex-teachers in California that we were just exchanging. And then there was Uwe Bonsen, who was the director of the school at that time, a great man. Fantastic. First of all, for those that don't know, go and check it out. German, Uwe Bonsen. He was the ex-Ford design director of Ford Europe and a gentleman. So at the end of his career, he was the director of the school, and he asked me, he said, Luciano, why don't you come here on Saturdays for Saturday class? And I told him, I'm sorry, I don't think I'm qualified. It's just a year that I'm a designer. I think that I should wait. And he said, no, but don't worry. So the first year I said no. But in September, he asked me again if I could go. And therefore, I had another colleague, Andreas, that was going. He said, yeah, you should go. You see, it's not complicated. At the end, we go there and just teaching sketching. For the other more complicated classes, there are other teachers. So it's really for sketching. I said, okay, let's try. And that experience opened up a new world to me, because I discovered that I was very happy to share my know-how. Then, of course, in Italy, IAAD 2 years later asked me to teach there, so I started teaching there. And but almost 2 years later, I did not continue with IAAD because l'Istituto Europeo di Design in Torino decided to open up for the first time the transportation design department. And with the input of Fiat, they wanted me to make a program as a chair, so as a responsible of department, being also one of the teachers. So in 2 months, I wrote down the whole program according to the way for me should be a school. And at the end, we realized it. I was hired by IAD also. So for about 10 years, I had a double job in Fiat with the Fiat permission. Yeah, you have to know that when I came to France at Renault, of course I could not go and teach again because I went over a new gap, okay, and I was not just a simple designer with some free time. I was into the design management, so it was different, also in terms of responsibility. But after a while, I felt that something was missing in my free time at home. So I opened up my lucianobove.com website, and then thing by thing, things happens, and then from there I opened up my YouTube channel in 2007, but it is only 3 years later that YouTube channel became a real channel dedicated to car design. In fact, the name is Car Design Education Tips, which is also the name of my Instagram page. So then Instagram arrived. Also on Facebook, there is a Car Design Education Tips. It's easier for me, for you, if you want to go and check, to go on YouTube and write my name, Luciano Bove, my channel will come out. Subscribe, of course, also on Instagram. But on Instagram, it's Luciano Bove 1, with the number 1 at the end, all attached. And therefore, that's a great way for me to make tutorials, film myself in this studio that meanwhile evaluated a little bit to serve a better service. Also the camera, things have changed. I have a nice microphone here, some lights that are a little bit more indicated to offer quality. And in the back, you can see some of my demos, tutorials. Those are done all by hands with chalk and markers and gouache, and the old way, the old technique, the old Viscom. And therefore, that's how I do it today. It's true, we really are in the big change now. So new technologies are really affecting us, our lives, our professional life, and the way we are making design. It's enough to go and check all the concept cars from the major car companies coming out lately, but also what it's happening in China, in Japan, to understand that we are like at a turning point, okay? We are not yet on the other side, but we are on the turning point. And it is true that to help to reduce the climate change, to help to have a cleaner and greener world, to help to understand for every single person on earth that the mentality has to change, and we can accept now to have confidence and trust in new technologies and stuff. We really doing this now for the next few years to come, during which products will come out, and people, it's not that they will not have the choice, but they will understand that the how can I say, it's advancing, you know, the new philosophy, the new credo, and the new products that will bring us to change. Hey, inspiration, I have to tell you the truth, the inspiration when I was a designer that was sketching on a project, on a given project, it was something, first of all, I always said in my head that I had to be different from my colleagues. So this already, you look what they're doing and you say, I will not do that way. So of course you put yourself in a more difficult way because you have to search for something different. And then inspiration can come, yes, it can come from the environment. You know, today we do a lot of mood boards to get inspired by, sometimes even details, you know, can inspire you, or materials, or philosophy, design philosophy. For a period, for a while, the Apple design philosophy was very, you know, trendy for everybody to go and search for that, trying to understand it, and then trying to reproduce it at our source, you know, on car design. So today is different for me, the inspiration, because managing projects is not the same thing as sketching for that project. Because today I am part of a team where we have a design director who is also my boss. So from who there is the creative inputs, okay, and then there is a design management, which is my responsibility, that links the designers, the team's work with the rest of the company, but everybody else. So I am halfway between creativity and politics, I would say, you know, really management. And therefore I had to bring in also what is the request from the big project team, because those requests are really factual. Those are real facts, you know, it's money, budget, timing, technology, things we can do, things we cannot do, things that would take too much time to do. Therefore, I'm reality. But at the same time, I am there to defend what we do in creativity, to tell them, I don't care, you have to do this, we have to try to do that and stuff. So I am in between. Today as a design manager, I enjoy a lot when I am able to come up with a technical idea to defend our design and have the engineer colleague that tells me, you know what, it works. We checked and it works. And this is just to explain also to many of young people watching that you don't need to be an engineer to be a car designer. Therefore, I always say to my friends from India, go to car design school, don't go to engineering, because then you will learn a lot about applied engineers on automobile for designers when you will be working. So take those 3 years extra to sketch well instead of learning about the mechanical engineer, because it's useless. Well, there is I have to say, because this is something that I think many designers and design managers suffer sometimes, it's the frustration when you can feel when you know that your project is finished, is done, and somehow, simply because there is a political problem, so it's not depending on you or your boss, but your boss comes and says, I'm sorry, this project has been cancelled. Yes, when I think about that, because now I'm older than at the beginning, I still remember the first very day of work, how I felt. I have to say that I always admired a lot Giorgetto Giugiaro, because I really like the way he's approached, apart the creativity, because it's hard not to love his creativity, but more the approach to the project, you know? The challenge that I see him working with these people, because when I was in Fiat, I had the chance to be in Untitled Design several times. The Fiat 600 was done for about a year in Untitled Design, so I had the chance to meet him, to meet his son Fabrizio, and to exchange with them a few times. But the most important thing, I saw him in the meetings, and I had the perception that I was right in admiring a person like Giorgetto Giugiaro. Then another one that I really like, more than a person, it's the family. It's the Pininfarina family, especially the 80s, the period when there was Ramaciotti there, Lorenzo Ramaciotti, with Aldo Bravarone, Ottina, and all those people that made the great Ferrari Fioravanti. Let's not forget our friend Mr. Fioravanti, il maestro of some Ferraris that are really beautiful, but also Bravarone, Aldo Bravarone, who made a beautiful Ferraris, and also some Alfa Romeos. And then also a little bit Zagato, Bertone. I like a lot all those old classics from Rinascimento, the way the light, the focal point, you know, the dark and light is treated, Raffaello and all those people. That's, for me, it's the starting point. But the one that I like very much since a long time, it's Fontana with the cat, with the red one with the cat, which is very abstract, very simple, but I think that is a fantastic piece. And then there is a French artist, a lady in Paris, Françoise Neuilly, that she makes those big, huge faces with knife technique, brilliant fluorescent colors. And I really like that. I really do. The Lamborghini Countach, yeah. Yeah, I have to tell you that there was a period where I think that the interior of BMW were really good. BMW. I would say in the year 2000. Today, I have to say that we are making excellent interiors. I don't want to talk about Renault, but it's true. So, wait and see. It's not an easy question, but I have to tell you that since I was a kid, I always liked BMW. This is something that Chris Bengon knows very well. We talked several times about that. So if I had the chance, I would have loved to be a designer or design manager during the period that Chris was in BMW. You know, at the same time Adrian was there, because Adrian grew up with him, and other people like Thomason, Chris Thomason, that today is a Neo, and I think that was a very good period, even if a little bit controversial, but for sure that period, I think there has been magic there. Lancia Appia. La Ferrari. But that's an easy question. Easy answer. One. I would say that there are several in the United States from the 50s, 60s, 50s, late 50s. There are some Cadillacs that are just fantastic, with all those fins, you know, the chromes. But there are the Pininfarinas that are fantastic, especially the Lancia made by Pininfarina in the 60s. Those ones, I would say. I have a Mac for a simple reason. It's because to have a very good debit and quality streaming online on YouTube, I needed a certain type of power without spending over 1,000 euro. I had a PC, or I've been Windows all the time. PC that was not very expensive, but it was very good. I had since years. But there was incredible problems when I started making my lives on YouTube. So I spent 2 weeks in searching the right compromise, not to spend a lot of money, but to have quality, to have that smoothness, you know, of the live, especially for the latency. And I discovered with the Mac 1, the latest, which is not very expensive, what it offers, it's perfect. Then I have everything else that is less expensive, but it's compatible. So I'm very happy. So that's why I'm Mac. And I am Apple with my telephone because it's a company telephone. Pepsi. Manual. Lamborghini, but not the latest one. To be honest, I'm sorry for, I don't remember the name of the design director, Mark, I think. I don't like the Lamborghinis the last 5-10 years, I don't. So if it's Lamborghini, it has to be the Countach of Gandini, Marcello Gandini. Or it's better a Ferrari today. That's a very good question, because I love both. And I have some really good balance. Let's say that if it's Italian, if I go up north, it's Barolo, 100%. And if I'm in the south, I take a very good Aglianico from my region, because it's really an excellent wine. That even my French friends here in France say, but this one looks like a Medoc. I say, no, that's Italian. And it's even better than your Medoc. Then French wine, I would say that there are several that are really excellent. I like Medoc. I like Châteauneuf-du-Pape. I like the Saint Joseph. I would say those type of. I am red wine. I'm not white wine. Cigarettes, never. Cigars, good cigars. Antico Toscano, and also the Havana, the Romeo and Juliet or the Coliva, for sure, or the Hackman also. And I smoke the pipe, so sometimes it's my pipe.